The abrasive cutting head is a very important part of your cutting machine. Cutting performance and accuracy will be greatly influenced by your cutting head, so understanding what each part does and where it belongs is important to achieving maximum cutting performance. This video will demonstrate how the WARDJet cutting head is disassembled, and you will learn the elements of the cutting head that make for a quality WARDJet stream. Before disassembling the cutting head, make sure there is absolutely no high pressure in the lines. The pump must be turned off, and the shutoff valve on the Z-carriage must be closed all the way by turning it clockwise. Make sure no one is near the cutting head. Then switch the water switch for the cutting head to manual. This will open up the cutting head and will depressurize the line. To prevent dropping any parts in the tank, put the provided plastic bin underneath the cutting head. Start at the bottom of the head with a nozzle, also known as the mixing tube or focusing tube. This can be taken out by loosening the locking cap all the way and removing it from the main assembly. Now you'll see that inside the locking cap is a small compression collar with a split. This tapered collar is squeezed from the sides when the locking cap is being tightened. When this happens, the inside diameter of the compression collar becomes smaller and puts a sideways force on the nozzle so that it is secured in the cutting head, minimizing the chance of the nozzle being forced out of the head by the WARDJet stream. The nozzle will now come out of the locking cap. The nozzle is made from a sintered material designed to have slow wear properties, but is very brittle. If it's dropped or hits the material or an obstruction on the cutting table, it can very easily break. Next, take the actual abrasive head from the cutting head adapter. You will need 2 crescent wrenches to do this. One will hold the hexagon-shaped adapter in place, while the other one will loosen the abrasive head by turning the head itself. Once the cutting head is loose, you can unscrew it from the adapter by hand. Once the head is off, you can see the orifice located inside. This cutting head has a ruby orifice, as you can see here. You can take this out with needle nose pliers. The orifice is a very important part of your water stream and is the smallest diameter hole that creates a narrow stream and accelerates the water. Now that you have removed the abrasive cutting head, go to the adapter. The adapter connects the abrasive cutting head with the actuator, the black round cylinder on top. Again, use 2 crescent wrenches and make sure that the water switch is set to manual. Once loose, you can remove it by hand. Note the long thread on this item and the seat on top. It can easily fall off when taking it off of the valve body. Take the seat off of the adapter and put it aside. Next, take off the actuator. This is the part of the cutting head that actuates an internal piston which allows the needle to rise from the seat. This will allow high-pressure water to go through the hole of the seat to the cutting head. Before taking the actuator off, set the water switch back to off, then remove the air line from the top of the actuator. Use 2 wrenches, putting one on the valve body and the other on top of the actuator. Break the actuator loose from the valve body. Once loose, you can turn it by hand and remove it from the valve body. To remove the on-off valve from the valve body, you'll have to use a seal tool. This is a white pencil-like tool that has a step on one end to a smaller diameter. That same end has a small hole on the front that needs to be aligned with the needle on the bottom portion of the valve body. Once aligned, you will have to push the whole assembly out of the valve body. Note that this assembly has a small O-ring that will help it move easily. Now you can see the whole assembly, which includes the needle bearing, the seal, and the needle itself. Note that all these parts, including the seat, form the on-off valve repair kit. Now you can reassemble the cutting head. Start with the needle bearing and the needle. Put the sharp end of the needle on the larger side diameter of the needle bearing. Then put the seal underneath with the small O-ring closest to the needle point. If this is correct, you'll see that the plastic seal and the needle bearing share the same diameter. Put some O-ring lubricant on the O-ring to prevent rolling or tearing the O-ring during assembly. Put the whole assembly in the top of the valve body with the needle pointing down. Push it into the valve body so it aligns itself. Before reinstalling the actuator, clean the top thread on the valve body to get rid of the blue goop and reapply a fresh coating. This will prevent the galling of stainless components. Then screw the actuator on top of the valve body and tighten it with 2 crescent wrenches. Once tightened, push the blue airline back into the air fitting. Now set the water switch back to manual. Clean the old blue goop off of the adapter and reapply new blue goop in the pocket where the seat is going to be located, and turn the seat in its pocket so the blue goop gets spread evenly over its surface. Put a little blue goop on the stainless faces of the seat and the threads. Screw the adapter back into the valve body and use the 2 wrenches to tighten. Make sure the bottom of the adapter is clean and reapply some new blue goop. Take your abrasive head and clean the inside thoroughly, checking for pitting or discoloring. If you notice this, you might consider replacing the cutting head, as this will affect the orifice alignment and cause premature failure of the orifice. After cleaning, apply some new blue goop on the inside and use a set of needle nose pliers to place the orifice in the cutting head with the ruby facing up. Once the orifice is seated, make sure you push it completely down to make sure it's actually in the hole of the cutting head body. Again, you can rotate the orifice in its position to spread the blue goop evenly underneath the orifice and to make sure that the orifice is aligned properly. Screw the cutting head back on the adapter and tighten with the 2 wrenches. If the fitting is not tight enough, it will start leaking from the weep hole on the cutting head body. Put the compression collar around the nozzle so the taper of the compression collar and the taper of the nozzle are facing in the same direction. Put this through the locking cap and screw the locking cap on the cutting head. Make sure that the nozzle is pushed all the way up before tightening it. Open the shutoff valve again by rotating it counterclockwise. That brings us to the end of this instructional video. If you still have questions about your abrasive cutting head, please call us at 330-677-9100 and ask for technical support.